We meet again at last. The circle is now complete.
What's the world coming to?
Well, you got a problem with what I did, Anthony?
Oh, no. Hey, no.
Fucking rat anyway. So family's all rats. Would have grew up to be a rat.
Stupid bastard. I can't fucking believe it.
Gee, I'm real sorry your mom blew up, Ricky.
Now you're gonna dig the fucking thing. You're gonna dig the hole. You're gonna do it. I got no fucking line. You're gonna do it.
Yes, I'll take the fucking hole. I don't give a fuck.
I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was pure and simple evil.
Jesus Christ. Mister, you okay in there?
Put some Disney coffees around here someplace.
Have you any idea what the cost of your actions is? What their effect might be? Or are you to give them hope? What do you give them? We give them happiness. And they give us authority. Groovy.
What's going on, everyone? It's Bob with Cinephellas. This is episode 125. I talked to Justin Lee about Apache Junction. We go into detail about his other films, inspirations, and even parts of the movie that didn't make it in. Sit back, have a listen, and enjoy.
Hey, Justin, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing good, Bob. How about yourself?
You know, can't complain. It's coming around the best time of year. I get to start watching some Halloween movies real soon.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I gotta say, I watched Apache last night. Big fan. So since this was my first time seeing something of yours, I did a deep dive, and I noticed you kind of you have a thing for Western movies in a way.
I do. They have a soft spot in my heart. I probably can say I've probably made more than I thought I would. It seems that everyone keeps asking me to make Westerns. So, it seems like I make, at least a Western a year, these days. But
it's a genre that really needs to be regenerated. I personally, Tombstone is like one of my favorite movies of all time. So, and even the remake of 3:10 to Yuma was good. Now, is there any?
You just named two of my favorites.
Is there any reasoning behind Westerns as it, or is this just something that's where your stories led you?
My grandpa loved Westerns, and I used to watch Westerns growing up all the time. And so when I got into filmmaking, I just naturally kind of, when I wrote my first real script and first movie that I was going to direct, that's where it went, just because it was always him in mind. And those memories of me watching Westerns with him. And, a big part of him is with me every time I make one, honestly. And I've gotten to work with some people he grew up watching. I've worked with, Tom Berenger, Bruce Dern. I mean, he loved these guys, So it's, really cool to kind of get to put those two things together.
No, absolutely. It's funny you mentioned your grandfather. That's who got me into Western movies, spaghetti Westerns, The Man with No Name, Trinity Is My Name, stuff around those lines. So whenever I watch it, I kind of, sit there with my grandfather, and it's funny because you had Trace Adkins in this one, and I've noticed he was in a couple other of your films, and so that mixed two of my grandfather's loves, which were Westerns and country Western music. And I saw that, but, I really thought Trace Adkins was good at it. I think his voice is fantastic, where he could play the same role over and over and never feels like enough. You know what I mean? Like he reeks of cowboy. Like I don't know how else to put it. Like Chris Christopherson would command the stage. Like Trace Adkins kind of hits the same note.
Yeah, he kind of, when you work with him, and even when you just watch him, he completely commands a scene when he speaks. I just worked with him. Again this summer on a movie that he was the lead in. We shot a practical shark movie in Hawaii, and I made him the lead of that. And every single scene that he's in, he just commands the room or the set, because he's his voice, his deep voice, and he's grown so much as an actor. Like it's one of those people that I'm just so proud of, watching him kind of grow over the years. And I love working with the guy. He's one of my favorite people to work with.
He definitely comes off like even on screen or anytime I see him, like you said, he commands room. Like he just seems like reeks of alpha, but not in the bad way. You know, just like he's
right.
very like as he speaks, everyone just kind of calms down and listens. It looks like he'd kind of be the one you want on your side in any argument in the world.
Definitely, and working with him is a joy. I mean, like he's grown comfortable now where he starts to play and he starts to ad lib, and he'll collaborate with you as a director, and it's just he's a you know, he's a director's actor, and I love that. And again, just watching him grow has been a real treat for me.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, Trace Adkins in this movie. You had Thomas Jane, Victoria Pratt, Stuart Townsend, which I was not expecting at all, because this is not I mean, I like Stuart Townsend. I've seen him in a bunch of things. This was not something I was prepared to see him in. You know, this was just it almost seemed like out of his comfort zone. I gotta say, it was actually kind of nice. I like seeing someone in a role that I wouldn't have pictured. Like Thomas Jane, I could see in this. Stuart Townsend, not at all.
He's got some Eastwood flair to him, huh? Like that was the one thing immediately I was like, holy cow, like this is really awesome. I remember my costume designer, Samantha, sent me a photo when they were doing a fitting with him, and he was posing for the camera with this particular hat on, and I go, oh my God, that's my Jericho Ford. That's Jericho Ford right there. And, man, he loved the script. He loved that character, and he brought such care and such charisma and passion to it, and I had a blast working with Stu. I love that guy.
Yeah, I was really taken back by him, and I like Thomas Jane, honestly. Like, I'll look at Thomas Jane, and to me, Punisher, like my favorite, like Thomas Jane roles. Him as Frank Castle and Punisher in Deep Blue Sea for some reason.
Yep.
It's a guilty pleasure, I gotta admit.
Oh, I was just saying in a different interview, I literally went to the movie theater on opening night for both of those movies, like Deep Blue Sea and The Punisher, and I'll tell the story again because it's so cool. Like the final duel, Tom wasn't supposed to be on that porch, and Tom was there hanging out, and I go, you know, it'd be really cool, and I turned around, and Tom was already in outfit, and he goes, yeah, you're gonna want me on that porch back there. It wasn't even supposed to be in the scene, and I was like, this is so awesome. And he walked out there, and he goes, you know, and I go, let me guess, Tom, you need a shotgun. He goes, yeah, I need to walk out and click this shotgun up. We were like on the same page, and I gave him the shotgun. He looks down at the shotgun and goes, hey, you know what? And I go, what? He goes, I think this is the same exact shotgun I protected my family with in The Punisher. And it was just so cool, man. It was so cool getting to do that with Tom, and we really hit it out. He was just great, man. He's an awesome dude.
See, I love hearing stories like that about filming, especially when, you know, like the way you spoke with that with such a spark, with such a, like, you lit up almost about that story. And plus, I mean, the fact that he said I protected my family, but I would have got goosebumps the whole time. I would have fanboyed out real big.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's really cool. You have those moments, and for the most part, listen, filmmaking's hard, directing's hard. It's a very volatile kind of set. You're dealing with so much, you're juggling so much. There's so many hurdles you got to just jump every day, every second. And so on occasion, you get these really cool moments with people like that. I always say, like, for the hardest things I go through in my life, I'm very privileged. You know, every day I'll have someone call me. Like, for example, earlier today I had Billy Zane call me. And I stopped and I looked at my good friend and I go, you know, what a crazy life I live where Billy Zane just calls me out of the blue. Like, it's those moments that you feel privileged, you know? And getting to work with some of these guys and being friends with some of these guys and then having these magical moments on a movie set where you have those things where you're a fan of something and then you share in a moment with someone like that. And, it's just awesome, man. What I do is it's just a really awesome that I get to do it. I'm massively thankful and humbled and privileged to get to share those moments with people I grew up watching on the screen. I mean, I could tell you countless stories sitting with Bruce Dern about Hollywood. I mean, Bruce Dern's like my grandpa at this point. I love that guy. He's told me some of the most epic stories.
I got to screen a movie he was in called The Last Call. It's him, Jeremy Piven, and a couple things. But the one thing that got me was the final scene after everything is Bruce Dern doing something incredibly odd. I'll just leave with that. And when I interviewed the writers, I said, their writer-director, I said, I didn't expect Bruce Dern at the end. They said, well, as soon as he read the script, he called me and went, so here's what I want to do with that last scene. And it took me back because I was like, oh my gosh, Bruce Dern can get out of I'm such a well-known actor and all this and be goofy with something. And I was like, that is the most amazing thing. Because, I mean, when I think Bruce Dern, like Nebraska is one of the best roles I've seen him in, where just like, I only wanted to watch him. Like, that's got to be cool to be able to joke around with that guy, because it seems like he's probably extremely down to earth.
He's one of the best people. I have the most fun working with him. I have a movie that hasn't come out yet called Hellblazers, and there's a scene in it where Ed Marone, who I work with quite a bit, Ed Marone played Oswald Pike in Apache Junction. Okay. And Ed and Bruce have this scene, and it's hilarious. And it got to a point where it went off the rails. And my DP looked at me and like, should we cut here? Because this is not even what's on the page. And I'm just like, I whispered, I was like, let it go. That whole scene in its full format of Ed Marone and Bruce Dern volleying back and forth as sheriff and this old ex-Vietnam townsperson is one of the funniest scenes I've ever shot in my life. And it's all because Bruce Dern has a way where he works with an actor that he's never worked with before, and he tests them, and he'll start throwing stuff at him that isn't on the page. And listen, Ed can volley back with that, and Ed just started volleying back, and the minute Bruce finds a dance where he can dance with you, he'll just start dancing with you. And that's, again, it's magic. And it's one of the great things about directing. So.
Absolutely. Because I'll be honest, like I said, this was my first introduction to your film, and now I have to say, I started looking back, because I want to understand who you are, try to see and the fact that you're a Resident Evil fan just was fantastic. I want to see the Welcome to Raccoon City, but also big legend. I stumbled across the trailer and was like, well, I need to watch this with my father. My dad's a big Bigfoot fan, and I love watching anything Bigfoot related with him. So I saw that trailer and I was like, all right, looks like I know what I'm going to do next time we get together. So I got to say, between in a Bigfoot movie, like, you have my dad and my relationship locked down right there.
That was one of the first 3 films I shot. I actually shot it near where I grew up. I grew up in Southwest Washington, and I shot it at the base of Mount St. Helens, which obviously is where so much Bigfoot activity takes place. And we actually shot it out in the woods at the base of the volcano. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it seems like you're one of the few writer-directors who do what they love. I've talked to a couple, and some go, well, I had this story. Like, you went right for something, and you're just going more at it. It's very, like, I'll be honest, like I said, this is my first movie watching yours. I'm going to have to start watching all of them. The amount of passion you had on the screen there, the amount of passion you're speaking with right now, it makes me want to dive into everything you've done. Well,
thank you very much. That's a gigantic compliment. I can't thank you enough for that. I like I said, I think I made a lot of really small micro budget films to kind of get where I am today, and a lot of heart and passion did go into those because you just don't have a lot to put into them, and the bigger you get, the harder it is to be able to do what you want to do. And so you kind of have to pick and choose your battles and fight for what you want. And it gets very stressful, it gets very daunting, but so hearing that from you means a lot to me. I really appreciate that compliment.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like any film has gotten you downtrodden or anything like that. It seems like it looks like your seal is on everything, even when it comes down. Like, you worked with Randy Couture. Like, that alone, I was like, oh gosh, I'm a MMA fan, so I was like, man, like, you've gotten all this stuff under control. I was like, geez, it looks like you're really working your butt off and like earning a lot of stuff here. I mean, now I got to ask before anyone jumps in, what brought you to the Resident Evil Raccoon City? I know it's got nothing to do with Apache Joke, but now I'm curious, as from one fan to another, what brought you there? Like, how'd you go about that?
That was so long ago. I was working kind of in YouTube, and I had a channel, and we were doing some stuff that got a bunch of attention. I was doing a lot of stuff for back in the day. It was called Machinima, which got bought out by Warner Brothers several years ago. And I just wanted to do a kind of a pick your own character, and that's what we did with that, where we filmed an opening to kind of like Resident Evil 2, how Resident Evil 2 the game would have been. But you could choose Chris Redfield, Leon Kennedy, or Claire, and you could not Claire, Jill Valentine. You could pick a character, and then we had a webisode of that character's storyline, and essentially every episode we'd have to film 3 episodes because there was 3 different characters, and it was very low budget, but it was one of the first things I started doing as a filmmaker. But I loved Resident Evil. And way back then, I had read George Romero's script for Resident Evil, and I was like, why the hell did this never get made? Like, this is amazing. But he never made it. He wrote a script for Resident Evil, and
that's
it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. You can find it online. It was terrifying. And I was like, why the hell did this never get made? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of the movies.
No, I'm with you.
That script is what should have been made. Like, that script was Resident Evil. I remember being a kid when Resident Evil came out on the original PlayStation, and there had been nothing like it. I was like, this is terrifying. And there was 2 games. I remember Resident Evil coming out and Aliens for PlayStation. They were both terrifying. And George Romero's script was perfection. And I wish they would have made that movie.
I'm going to have to, man, now you got me, like, I'm on the edge of my seat right now. I'm going to have to read that because, I mean, like I said, big fan, not to mention, I mean, horror movies. It's the best genre out there. Now with you being, a fan of horror and stuff like that, is there any chance that we get your version of a horror movie out there? Not Resident Evil, but is there something out there in your brain that you're working on with a horror movie feel to it?
Yeah, I think horror is a genre that I would like to be doing way more of, because that's what Westerns and horror is what I got built. Joe Bob Briggs raised me, I'll say that. And Terror Vision and a Trailer Park of Terror is pretty much what raised me, right? And I want to do so much more horror. And, there's the whole Hollywood landscape of there's so much horror, so it doesn't hold as much value. And it's very hard to make horror in terms of financing and all that stuff. And so that's kind of an uphill battle. I am currently working on a few things that I think we'll be making, but I am a very big practical effects guy. I did make a practical shark movie this summer. That Jaws was a giant inspiration for that. I fought tooth and nail to have a practical shark. And so it is definitely a horror film. But to actually get away and do monsters and creatures and that kind of stuff, that's where my heart is. The Thing is one of my favorite films of all time. That's why Big Legend was all practical. We made a real Bigfoot and did all that, and I want to get back to that, some of that stuff, and make some really, really cool practical effects gags and creatures. So yes, I think you're going to see more horror for me.
Practical is the best way to go about it, especially when it comes to horror movies.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Justin. Is there anything I can put out there for people to follow you? Is Twitter or anything like that?
No, just my website, just justinleedirect.com.
All right. Thank you so much for taking time. I could sit and talk with you for hours about the Resident Evil stuff and everything like that. Thank you so much for your time, Justin. I look forward to the new Shark movie, believe me, and yeah, I'll be looking for a copy of Big Legend soon. And
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you so much. You have a good night.
Right, thanks to you too.
Well, there you go. That was episode 125. Obviously, Justin's a real cool guy, loves his work, and passionate about filmmaking in general. Apache Junction streaming everywhere, September 24th. And of course, as we always say, cheers.
Bye.